Hi, and welcome back to this week's edition of Impactful Teamwork. Today, I want to focus on a topic that I've been exploring recently for my 20-minute teachings that I do every single month. And if you're not on the list of our notifications, please do let me know, and we can give you priority sign up to that. But the topic today I want to delve into is the hidden system behind high functioning teams. So for those of you who don't know, my name's Julia Felton, and I'm going to be your host and guide while we go through this topic today. So the question I want to start with is, why do some smart, capable teams still struggle to perform? Because I think we've all been there, haven't we? We've all worked in teams that on the surface look like everything should work well. Everyone's very clear on their roles, their responsibilities. They know how that aligns to the company vision, but still something doesn't work. And what I often find in these teams is this illusion of team harmony. We think everyone's getting on really well together, but actually sometimes nothing could be further from the truth. In fact, everyone's being terribly nice, and everyone is not really saying what's on their mind. And often this happens because of a lack of psychological safety. And that's a topic we delved into on last week's podcast. So when everyone is being in harmony and working together, what we need to be aware of is that sometimes this can hide team members not wanting to deal with conflict within the team. And we know healthy conflict is good for a team from the work of Patrick Lencioni. Healthy conflict encourages us to have diversity of perspectives, which fuels innovation and new ideas within the business. But when people don't feel comfortable about having these, what I call courageous conversations with each other, we really miss something within the organization. And often it can result in stagnation, it can impede growth, it can impede innovation and genuine collaboration within the team. And what we all know is that often it's very easy to focus on the things within the team that we see above the surface. We've often spoken on this podcast about how teamwork is your competitive superpower, but there is this iceberg that exists within teams. And we tend to focus on what we can see above the surface, things like poor communication, misalignment, silo mentality. And what we forget to do is delve under the depths of the iceberg. What is really the root cause of these problems? Because it's only when we deal with the root cause of what is stopping teams being high performing that we can really get to a positive outcome. And some of these things might be things like the energy of the team, the level of engagement of team members, or their level of expectation about what they have to do. And energy here is such an important concept, and I do believe it's an invisible force that exists within business that can fundamentally change the success or failure of an individual leader, of a team, of an organization. And yet this is something that we don't talk about very often. We don't really talk about team energetics and how all the team need to be energetically pulling in the same direction, and how each team member needs to understand what the energy for impact is. So today I just wanted to delve into that a little bit. But before I do, I'd just like to ask you a question. How well do you maximize the energy of your team to achieve extraordinary results? I'd like you to think about that. On a scale of 1 to 10, how do you do with this? Where 1 might be you're in unbridled chaos. You don't maximize the energy of your team at all. And at the other end, you've got this harmonious herd where everyone actually does work together and people are still prepared to have those difficult conversations at the same time. So just think about that as we're reflecting through what I'm going to share with you today. Because today I want to share with you a couple of concepts that I've been working on. The first of these is the momentum equation. And the momentum equation is, as it sounds, an equation. Momentum is the result of energy plus alignment. So I want you to think about that. Momentum is the result of energy plus alignment. So how does this play out then? Energy is a fuel. It's the vital force within a team. It's the capacity to act and innovate and deliver. But without energy, our direction can become scattered, reactive, or burnt out. And I like to think of this a bit like a herd of horses. If they don't have a shared destination, everyone is running in different directions. It's exhausting, chaotic, and ultimately unsustainable. And I've seen this a lot in organizations where some organizations have had really high energy, but because it hasn't had a focus, it's really dysfunctional. It's a little bit like a sparkler going off when on bonfire day, when you've got the sparkler and you're standing next to the bonfire and the sparkler's lit. It's all the sparks are going off in loads and loads of direction. There's no focus to it. And we want to combine this energy, which is the fuel, with this alignment, which is the direction. Because the alignment provides clarity and focus and cohesion. And that's what channels the energy into purposeful action. But of course, if we have the alignment, the direction without energy, we get stagnation, bureaucracy, and lack of momentum. So when teams are aligned and energized, then we have this formula right. We have the formula right of energy plus alignment equals momentum. And again, I'd just like you to reflect on this for a moment. Where's the energy in your team? How are your teams doing? Is the energy scattered and fragmented, or does it have some kind of laser focus to it? And when we think about alignment, do all the team know where they're going? Do they have a clear purpose and a clear direction? Or are people just like the energy scattering in different directions? And actually, I love this formula, the momentum equation, that energy plus alignment equals momentum, because energy and alignment are two key points of the diamond model of leadership. And some of you might be familiar with the diamond model of leadership. I've shared about it before on the podcast. This is a model of leadership inspired by world horses. And if you imagine, it's a diamond shape. And at the top in the center, we've got attention. Horses in wild herds need to have attention to know where the danger is going to be. And directly opposite attention, on the bottom side of the diamond, we've got energy. And it's the energy that fuels the momentum of a herd. So when a herd of wild horses are running, you have a lead mare at the front who's paying attention to the direction that everyone's going in and looking for all the danger. And the stallion is at the back, pushing the energy to move everything forward. On the left-hand side, we've got congruence. This is about the alignment, head, heart, and gut. Being authentic, being true to who we are. And on the right-hand side, we have direction, knowing where we are going. So it's so appropriate that the momentum equation is made up of energy and alignment, because these are factors that we find going on in wild herds of horses. And they are the difference that's going to make the difference in your business. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about something that I've just created called the Team Alignment Trifecta. Because I believe that alignment isn't just some kind of fluffy concept that we talk about in business. It's something really practical. And it's the foundation of team flow and organizational momentum and success. And without having this team alignment trifecta, individuals go in different directions. So there's three parts to the trifecta. And the first is role clarity. Everyone needs to know what they bring to the table and how it complements everything else. Then we have relational trust. We want everyone to feel safe to speak up and have that psychological safety that is so important within organizations. And finally, we need rhythmic flow. This means that the team moves together. We adjust the pace as needed. And we know we see this in business, right? When we've got a deadline, the team speeds up. When things are not chaotic and frantic, the team can slow down. And we know that in nature, everything has a rhythm. So it's so important that our team alignment trifecta affects this rhythm and flow, because people can't keep going at full speed all of the time. And when we've got role clarity, relational trust, and rhythmic flow, then performance accelerates. And it does that from a position of this pull-push energy. So if you think back to the diamond model that I just shared with you, you've got the lead mare at the front of a herd of horses. She's gently pulling the herd forward. She's using pull energy. The stallion at the rear of the herd is using push energy to get everyone moving forward. And I think it's really important that within business, we understand this importance of pull-push energy, and when we use it to get our team inspired and motivated. Now, of course, as a leader, you could just use pull energy or you could just use push energy. But what I'd like to suggest is a better solution, and that is that of shared leadership, where one of you exhibits pull energy and one of you push energy. And when you have shared leadership within the workplace, that ignites the energy within the organization. And everyone starts moving in unison, and we have full alignment. Now, as I said, every team has a hidden energy system. And I'm curious about what that is within your team. And we know that every team has a different hidden energy system because different people bring different types of energy for impact. So we have some people within the team that might be blue sky thinkers, but they're very creative and they bring innovation to the team. Other people are blue sky thinkers and a lot more practical, and they bring planning and strategy to a team. Others are all about execution and getting things done. Other team members are all about continual improvement and making things better. And lastly, some team members are all about relationships. So we need to know what energy everybody is bringing to the team. Because if we don't know that, we can't work effectively together. And when we're working effectively together, we have an energy alignment formula, which consists of purpose, why we exist, the priorities that we need to focus on, and the people within the business. And when one part of that trifecta is off, friction increases and flow disappears. So let me just give you an example of this. If somebody believes their purpose is innovation, but the team's priority is execution, there's going to be a tension that builds. And for an individual, your own personal tension results when you end up in a role that's not aligned with your energy. So let me share a couple of examples that have happened to me in the past. And this is before I understood about individual energy and what impact individuals had in an organization. So there was one time when I was freelancing for a company, a training company, and I had worked for them for a while. But they had a real challenge in their customer service team. The customer service that they were providing to other coaches and consultants was very poor. Now, my energy is much more of a game changer energy, one of innovation and creativity. I love nothing more than to innovate and create and look at the way that we're doing things and make things better. So I initially saw this role is improving the customer service, quite an interesting challenge. How could I come up with creative solutions and new processes and systems to impact that department within the organization? And all was well for about 3 or 4 months while I did that kind of diagnostic and I put everything in place. But then I continued in the role of a customer service agent. And I've got to tell you, it depleted me of energy each and every day. Because you see, the energy that you need for customer service is much more relational. It's much more executionable, getting things done for customers. And I just didn't enjoy it at all. And in fact, it was getting to the point where I was quite demotivated to even show up for this role in each and every day because it just wasn't fulfilling my soul. So that can be the challenge of having people in roles that they're not aligned to. And of course, in my particular case, I was aligned to that role for a short period of time, but then in the longer term, I wasn't. My question to you is, who in your organization maybe needs to shift role? Maybe we've not got them in the right type of role. And I hope you can see that when we get people in the right roles, how that's going to create greater engagement and productivity and profitability within the organization. I think of another example actually that happens to me before I even understood again about people's energy for impact. And it was when I was running my division, the corporate division I set up within Deloitte that did hotel benchmarking statistics. And I was brought in to set up that division. So as an innovator and a creator, I loved setting up the business, getting the systems and processes in place. But all of a sudden, as the business matured, I wasn't enjoying work as much. And at the time, because I didn't know this, I couldn't understand why I was putting all my energies into expanding the business into new verticals. So I took the business into the health club sector and created metrics for health clubs. And at that same time, while I was doing that, my boss was telling me off. That might be a bit strong, but I wasn't getting the great feedback that I had got. And that's because what the business required me to do was manage it through a stage of evolution of being a mature business. And that needed a different type of energy for leadership than the type of energy I had. And so years later, when I discovered about energy for leadership and how energy is this hidden variable that we never talk about under our high performance teams, I realized then that what had happened was the business had evolved. It needed a leader with a different type of energy that wasn't me. It wasn't that I'd become a bad leader. No, far from it. It's just that the business had evolved to a different stage of its life cycle and needed a different type of leader. And I'm curious, maybe some of you can relate to that. Maybe some of you have been in roles that you were very successful in, and all of a sudden you just didn't feel it anymore. And it's not about you, it's often about the evolution of the business. And this is why we see that founders often struggle to keep leading their businesses into the next stage of growth. Because what they love is creating new things. And that's not what the business needs as it grows and scales. And that's why founders can become a bottleneck in the business and stop its growth. Why sometimes isn't everyone in your team on the same page? I think this is really important that we just delve into this. And it's because of our mental models. Because every team member has their own mental model of the world. Their lens is shaped based on their experience, their roles, their personalities, and their values. And that means that people interpret the same situation in very different ways. The thing is, we don't see things as they are, we see them as we are. So let me just say that again. We don't see things as they are, we see them as we are. And the problem is that we often assume a shared understanding. And what happens is that can lead to misaligned assumptions, a mistrust and duplicate effort and missed opportunities. So when we think about people's mental model of the world, we've got to remember our beliefs are shaped often before the age of about 7. So we take on beliefs of our parents, of our caregivers. Maybe also take on beliefs of worldviews that we've seen, world events that have happened while we've been growing up. And then, of course, there's our experiences as well as our values. So this is why not everyone sees things the same. So just imagine, unfortunately, you see a car accident and somebody asks you what you saw and you recount one version of events. Somebody else shares another and somebody else shares another. And this is what happens because we're all literally going through the world wearing a different set of glasses, a different lens. This is why we all have different mental models and we're all not on the same page. So if we're going to align the energy within the business, it's really important that we have transparent, healthy discussions so that we make sure that everyone is operating together on the same page. We've all got that clarity about what we're going. So many times in organizations, I see people thinking that we all know we're going in the same direction, but the reality is we don't. And when you start talking to individuals, everyone gives you a different answer. And there is a true sign that you're not aligned. Because when a business is aligned and we've got high alignment, we get high performance and we're in an area of synergy. And this is the sweet spot. The team knows the direction, they trust each other, and they execute with excellence. Everyone is in flow. But sometimes what we have is high performance and low alignment. The team is scattered. Individuals are performing, but they're pulling in different directions. And the results look good now, but it's unsustainable. And it often leads to burnout and conflict. Then we've got high alignment and low performance, where the team is storming. Everyone's trying to get on the same page, but at that point in time, the team lacks the skills to develop so that they can soar. And lastly, sometimes we find teams stuck in low performance and low alignment. They're disconnected and ineffective. The team's either in survival mode or treading water. And this is when we often need a cultural or structural level intervention. So in summary, skills and tools don't create great teams. It's alignment, and it's alignment of this energy. And it's so important as a leader that you start to figure out what your team's energy is, because your team's energy is hidden and you can't manage what you can't see. And this is why I have a number of different interventions that I can help you with to help you make the invisible visible within your business. We've also got to remember that all of our team members have different mental models, different realities. And until you decode them, everything stays misaligned. So the GC Index is one of the tools that I use with my clients to help them understand their team's true energy for impact. And I'd just like to let you know about a workshop that I'm going to be running. It's coming up on the 3rd of July. And it's a workshop to help you unleash the game-changing potential in your team. If you're interested in registering for the session, which is going to be a really powerful deep dive full of breakout sessions and workshops, this isn't me just talking at you. This is something really practical and implementable. Simply go to businesshorsepower.com/game-changing teams. And there you'll find the sign up page so that you can register for the event. I'm super excited to be hosting this because for me, energy is that hidden piece of the puzzle. The team energetics are so important within business, and yet it's something that we're rarely talking about. And yet we know that when individuals are operating from a high energetic frequency, they don't get the success they crave, and neither do your teams either. So we need to look at energetics both on an individual, a team, and an organizational level. And in the workshop, I'll also be sharing with you some of my thoughts on the secret energy of business and how your business activities and processes are comprised of different energies, and when to do what activities in what locations to maximize that energy output for you. So it's going to be a really fun workshop. So I do encourage you to come along. But as we close out the session today, I'd just like to invite you to think about what are the hidden energy dynamics within you, your team, and your business? And what are you going to start doing differently next week to change them? Have an amazing week and see you next time. Bye bye.